Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charlie Robbins. I'm the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and Dean of the Undergraduate Colleges, and it's really my pleasure to welcome all of you here today. I think that this is a really important program and actually a really important day for Stony Brook. There's a few people I need to acknowledge without whom today would not be possible. And they include our president of the university, Dr. Samuel L. Stanley, Jr. And joining us today, sitting up front, is our provost, the chief academic officer of the university, Dennis Asanis. And there are many other people. I just want to mention a few who really made today possible. Foremost among them is the Stony Brook StandUp Compact. These students and their advisor, Jeremy Marchese, don't embarrass him, we know how shy he is. And they know who laughed. Really, this started as part of the Undergraduate College of Arts, Culture, and Humanity, and has spread like wildfire. So as of this afternoon, the online pledge to eradicate bullying has 1,066 signatures. Their goal, in addition to bringing Ben to campus, was to break 1,000 by today. So they did that. So we're really proud of that. I'm going to start the program with a short video that the Stand-Up Compact made last spring. Some of you may have seen it, but I think it's really important and really talks about what the message is. So please watch this. addition to those I've already mentioned, I want to at least acknowledge our co-sponsors today, which are Stony Brook Athletics, Director of Athletics Jim Fiore, and Executive Associate Director of Athletics Donna Woodruff, the America East Athletic Conference, both of whom were really generous in their support of today's program, the staff of the Stoller Center, our University Office of Communications that really helped us get the word out, our undergraduate colleges, and especially within the office of the Provost, my assistant, Nadine Greenstein, who really makes it all happen. So you were all given cards that you can write questions on that you want to pose to Ben following his presentation. When you finish those, if you pass them to your left, my right to your left, then they'll be collected and brought up to the stage. We also have a number of questions that were submitted electronically via email before today's event, so we have a lot of questions to pose to him. So it is truly a profound personal and professional honor for me to introduce Ben Cohen to you. The accolades and awards are all there. You know most of them. The world's top professional rugby player, World Cup winner. He was named by the Queen of England as a member of the British Empire for his chivalrous acts. And he's the husband and father of 5-year-old twin daughters. But what goes beyond all of that is the man that he is. I believe he's truly a role model for all of us. He's someone who saw a wrong and named it as such. He took a tragedy, and while it never takes away the pain or helps to explain the senselessness of violence, he created something powerful, the Ben Cohen StandUp Foundation. He has dedicated his life to making life better for LGBTQ young people, to challenge all forms of bullying, and to eliminate homophobia from professional sports. None of those are an easy task. The request that the foundation receives from Mr. Cohen to make appearances far exceeds those that he's capable of doing. So we are really even more thrilled that he has decided to come to Stony Brook University today. So let me share with you a brief video from the foundation, and then we'll bring Ben on stage.
I think the great thing with Ben is you saw a huge amount of improvement very quickly. He was a pretty raw talent when he came in, but within a year or two he become one of the best players in the world. one guy who got straight to skin more than any other player in his backline is Ben Cohen. He scored that wonderful try against Australia in Melbourne when he went straight down the middle. And you know, he was, you know, they respect big, powerful players, and Ben at his best is a big, powerful player.
What happened to you? I wonder if we'll meet again. Talk about our since then. Talk about how you live. Never feel like the one. Never feel like the one.
Any sports fan knows how competition both on and off the field can be overshadowed by bad behavior. And in recent days, some pretty high-profile incidents and outbursts of both anger and aggression, and in some cases, outright bullying and use of homophobic slurs have made headlines. And some professional athletes are saying enough is enough. Recently, a former rugby player and star from Great Britain quit his chosen profession specifically to combat homophobia in the world of sports. His name is Ben Cohen.
Ben is fully focused on his StandUp Foundation to combat homophobia and bullying. And that's why he's here in Atlanta just a few weeks after hanging up his boots.
I don't like bullies, I don't like people getting treated unfairly.
The cause is close to Ben's heart because in October 2000 his father Peter was severely beaten at his own nightclub in Northampton, England. A month later he died of his injuries.
It's something that I'm very passionate about, you know, being a family man and having some personal tragedy, my dad being killed and stuff, and also bullying in general and the everlasting effects it has on people.
And now Ben is using his star status to get his message across to students and adults alike.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a great Stony Brook welcome for Ben Cohen.
Hey guys. Thank you. I like it. Hi guys. Thanks for a lovely reception, and firstly I'd like to congratulate Jeremy and Charlie for starting the stand-up chart here at Stony Brook. For me, it means a lot. I'm going to let you know, I'm going to talk to you about my journey, but I wanted to start with that and congratulate Jeremy and Charlie for what they've done here with the stand-up charter and what they're meaning to do. And it is about the next generation, but also the current generation, to drive a cultural change of understanding of what bullying does long term, no matter what sexual orientation that is, colour of skin, colour of hair, size. It's about equality. And I'll tell you about my journey of being a rugby player and how I ended up here today with you guys. So I started rugby by complete accident, and I made up the numbers. In fact, at my school team when I was 12 years old, playing in a position that you guys will probably know in a scrum, and it was called prop. Not a very nice place. It's a bit dark and it's not very nice. So I decided to get out of there pretty quick. And actually, I went onto the wing, and actually where the wing where I played, number 11, as you saw on the video, and I started to get pretty good. I wasn't the most skillful, but I was quick, and I could score tries. And from 12 years old, and 3 years later, about actually nearly 4 years later, at 16 years old, I found myself at a team called Northampton Saints. And that's the team I went over to play for over 300 times and 310 times or something like that, not really counting. And it was a great club. It was somewhere I could put my heart and soul into, and I was around world-class players. And I got fast-tracked into the team at 17, and I started playing first-team rugby at 17, and it was an eye-opener. It was a big learning curve for me. But also at that point when I started in the first team, it turned professional, and I turned professional at 18. And it wasn't, I would say, like our soccer teams or like your NFL teams or basketball or anything like that. It hadn't established, so there wasn't a lot of infrastructure in place. So it took a few years to get into that, but about 20 years old, about 2 years later, there's still not a huge amount of change, and my career started to stall a little bit. And so I sat down with my dad at the time, and he said, look, you need to start investing in your game. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I think I had a couple of broken bones in that time, and so my body was a little bit imbalanced in strength-wise, and he said, look, I think we need to get a personal trainer. So I invested everything I earned. I only earned about £600 a month at that point of being a sort of an apprentice. I don't know what you call it over here, coming to a rookie, would it be? Yeah, a rookie. Going into the first team. So everything I earned went into this fitness trainer, and it paid off. 3 months later, I got selected in the England team, which was fantastic. And then the wages changed. It got up a little bit then. And I found myself playing for England, and, which was an amazing opportunity to really express yourself, but an honour, a fantastic honour. And more so when I look back, because my dad saw me play rugby for my country. And I scored 2 tries on my debut, which was amazing. And we won the Six Nations, which is our sort of European Cup at international level. But probably the biggest thing I remember of my first Six Nations is we played against Wales. There's nothing wrong with Wales. It's all right, Wales. It's a lovely country, lovely people. And I remember coming off the pitch after playing actually pretty well, and I scored a try. And I'd come off the pitch, and I was sitting down in the changing room, and I was speaking to another player called Will Greenwood, and we're debriefing the game and what we need to work on going into the Scotland game the following week. And I see our coach, Sir Clive Woodward, showing this young lad around. And I never really thought anything of it, because we always have prize winners and people coming in the change room afterwards and, you know, looking around, meeting the players, etc. So I never thought anything of it. So I started to get unchanged, so please bear with me, I know you're a bit graphic, not too graphic. So I pulled down my shorts, and then I pulled down my pants, as you do. But as I was busy adjusting myself, I see these 2 pairs of feet arrive in front of me, and I thought, oh no, I'm going to meet this young lad completely naked, holding my testicles. But as I look up, I am face to face with a young Prince Harry. And what do you do when you meet royalty? You've got to do and the funniest thing is, actually, we became very good friends with Will and Harry, because they're very big rugby nuts, and not literally, but they're really good, good supporters of us. And I played soccer with Harry about 2 months ago at a place called Chelsea. It's a soccer club. And we won. No, it was 4-4 draw. I scored a couple of goals. Harry scored 1. I remember him telling me in the changing room, and the irony of this story is quite funny. The fact that he goes, Ben, listen to this. Oh, you've been to Vegas? And I'm like, nah, mate, I've never been to Vegas. He goes, oh, mate, that place is awesome. And I said, how do you go to Vegas and not get noticed? He goes, oh, Benny. Let me tell you, that place has got this whole VIP thing. You do not get noticed.
How wrong he was. And he was naked. I was fully dressed at that time.
So I'm going completely off course, sorry. So how I had like a fantastic start to my career, and it was through hard work and dedication. And because, as I said, I wasn't the most skillful player in the world, it's something I had to really work hard on. And you know, if anyone's actually looked into it, we've got quite a unique family. My uncle, my dad's brother, George Cohen, won the 1966 Soccer World Cup. And I know soccer's not massive over here, but it's a big thing in Europe and possibly the rest of the world. And so it's a big thing. I was always meant to go down a football route, but Again, I wasn't very skillful at football, so I chose the one that I could be a bit more physical in. It was soccer, sorry, it's not really a contact sport. So, yeah, the biggest life-changing part for me was on Friday the 13th of all days, and it was at 11:30 at night, and I get this phone call, and it was, it's having a phone call that we didn't have mobiles in the days really, in 2000 it was, Friday the 13th, 2000, and the house phone rang. I missed the first lot of calls it rang out, went down to get it, and it was my brother saying, my dad's been, he's been beaten up pretty bad. And he wasn't alcoholic or anything, he never drank, he only smoked, he was actually protecting someone. And he got beaten to an inch of his life. And I mean, when you see the cornerstone of your family, you know, and you know, we're a close family, that had been bitten across his face, been attacked by 5 guys, and you know, pretty beaten up. And it was tough. It was tough. He died a month later through his injuries on November 14th, and it was tough. It was a real tough time. And the reason why, not only is it doesn't affect you individually as much, you know, I mean, like, as it affects the whole family. And I had, I was the youngest by in my family by 5 years, but I became the head of the family, and I could get, the reason why is because I could get rid of my aggression on the pitch. I could go and hit someone and get away with it, in the laws of the game, obviously. And you know, I could get rid of my aggression. But it was hard, you know. My dad had, you know, had his life cut short. He was 58 at the time, and you know, my best years to come, my brother as well, and also my sister. And you know, it was hard on my mum, and there was a whole different story to my mum and dad that I never knew about. And my mum tried to take her life a couple of times. It was hard, it was difficult. So I found myself, it was a murder trial, and it went on for 2 years. We couldn't bury my dad for just under 2 years, so we could never really put it to bed. So none of us could really move on. I found myself on a British and Irish Lions tour, which is a team which is made up of England, Scotland, Wales and Ireland, and it's the best of that go and tour the Southern Hemisphere. And this particular time, it was Australia. And I didn't do myself any justice for obvious reasons. Actually, I pretty much could try and blame anybody else, but actually, it's one of the biggest things, is not a happy home really doesn't really make it a good work place for me. You know, when I have a happy home, I perform on the pitch, and I didn't really have a happy home in respect of the disruption that it caused. So I ended up going back into the next season, and a guy called Wayne Smith, who just won a World Cup with New Zealand, sat me down and he said, look, you can't throw away your career, your dad wouldn't want that, and you need to start redefining your goals. You need to set yourself a challenge and do it for your dad. I said, I think that's a fantastic idea. And he goes, what do you want to do, Ben? I said, well, I want to win a World Cup, and I want to become the best player in the world. Now, that's easy to say than actually go and do it. And it was bloody hard to do. And so I had to get myself back in the team in Northampton because I'd been dropped. So I did that. I managed to cement myself back into the Saints team. I managed to cement myself into the England team, and actually make my name on the first on the name sheet on the team sheet, and then going into the World Cup in Australia, I needed to get my name down on that team sheet, and I did that. I was very fortunate. I made sure I was the first one on the training pitch, and I was the last one off. And I studied the game. I studied my other opposition in my position, and I really invested everything I had into becoming the best player in the world. And I became the best player in the world for 5 years, but it wasn't easy. It was a fantastic journey now I look back, but it wasn't easy. So I did that. I became the best player in the world, won a World Cup. I remember winning the World Cup down in Australia because it was a fantastic place to win a World Cup, and especially in the Orange back garden. And I remember flying home into Heathrow, and there was 35,000 people in the terminal, you know, welcoming us home. And then I remember going a couple of days after we got back, we had to do a parade through London, on an open-top bus. And we were greeted by 1 million people. It was fantastic. I've never seen scenes like it. And then we popped into number 10, which is the 10 Downing Street. Had tea with the Prime Minister. Then we went into Buckingham Palace and had tea with the Queen. And a team photo. And I got told off by the Queen, which is great. I moved the chair, scratched it. She hated me. And then that wasn't the first time I've been told off by the Queen either. It's been twice. I've been 3 times, got told off twice. Brilliant. And I got a speeding ticket on the way home. It was a fantastic day, though. I remember that. I'll tell you actually, I got an MBE, which is a member of the British Empire, and then you get a medal which is so big and it's made out of compressed cardboard, which I couldn't believe. But I remember meeting the Queen, and you have to, you go down, we normally go down individually, we went down in sort of like, I think it was the back three, so it was like the 2 wingers and the fullback in rugby, which you guys probably know. Anyway, we went down, and the 3 of us went down, so you walk down and you have to turn and you have to bow, and she calls you forward. But I got it all under the nervous tension and obviously shitting myself. I actually got it wrong, and I walked down, turned, walked halfway, and thought, shit, I've got to bow. So I'm bowing, walking forward, and she was just looking at me going, and she called me forward, but it was good fun, it was good fun. What an idiot. I know I am. Where was I? Totally lost track now. Yeah, so after the World Cup, in 2007, I pulled out the 2007 World Cup to be at home for the birth of my kids. So I have twin girls, Harry and Isabel. They just started school, they're 5 years old. And I wanted to be at home for that, it's very important. And you know, family for me is really important. And I could never ever miss the birth of my kids. It's an important day. And I came across this fan page on Facebook and of 37,000 people, and I thought, Christ, that's a lot of people, and to not know about it, and someone's put it up on Facebook in honour of me I was thinking, why would someone do that? So I had a look at it, and because some guy got in contact who set it up and wanted to give me the fan page, and I was like, there's 37,000 people, and they're all men. I was like, oh right, okay, that's interesting. Why? Why would 37,000 men like me? I'm not going to go into it now, but it was interesting. And actually, the thing what was really interesting about it was actually a lot of the emails and sort of people that would sort of get in contact and tell me their stories of what they'd been through were very similar to my own, and that was suffering at the hands of somebody else, and you know, causing lifelong pain and from somebody else's actions. And for me, it was like, wow, I'm not gay, but our stories are very similar. Because someone is perceived to be different to somebody else, why does it give someone the right to go and torment them, to bully them because they're perceived to be different? And I decided to say, no, do you know what? I'm going to do something about it. I'm in a masculine sport. I'm world champion, I'm a sportsman, and I'm straight. And I think that's pretty powerful to start breaking down stereotypes. Because it doesn't matter if you're gay, whatever your sexual orientation is, black, white, red hair, overweight, whatever it may be. No one deserves to be bullied. And I started to break down stereotypes, and I really bridged that gap between gay and straight community. I really look at homophobia and transphobia. And I sort of did that really, sort of came sort of the third fiddle in respect of obviously my family, rugby, and sort of being an ally, so to speak. But in 2011, I retired. I retired for a cause. I played over 600 games, first-class rugby, which was internationally Lions, etc., and Premiership. That's actually that rugby was just a job, and really the passion in some respects was starting to edge towards doing something like a foundation. And I met with a guy called Patrick Davis, and who really helped my dream of setting up a foundation, a global foundation. Big dreams, big ambitious project, reality. And in 2011, May, I retired for a cause. And I have to say, I didn't know how powerful that would be, and it was the right decision. And biggest thing about setting up the foundation and was not to reinvent the wheel. I wanted to support organisations out there doing real world work. I didn't want to sort of, replicate and put somebody else out and sort of, say I can do this job better and I can spend double the money to do it. And it wasn't the case, and that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to support organisations no matter how little they were or how big they were. And by doing that, we wanted to do it differently. We wanted to create a Live Strong, Lance Armstrong's Live Strong, or Bono's Red. We wanted to become a social commerce. We wanted to unlock a new revenue. That means we wanted to engage the consumer. We wanted people to buy a product, to support the cause, to stop the bullets. And I hope I haven't lost anyone on that. So what that means is we have a for-profit and a non-profit. And when we sell a product, we put the profits from that go over to the non-profit, which then gives the grants out who people apply for. What that does is makes us self-sustaining. That means that we can stand alone, which is fantastic. We don't need to rely on grants. And it's been successful. We have some great partnerships out there. One with Nike. It's very early stages, but they supply us t-shirts, etc. And when we need them to sell them. We're in the final stages of putting our trainers, stand-up trainers, on Nike ID, which is a fantastic news for us. That means that will be a global Nike project, which is fantastic. But we also work with Microsoft. We've just come back from Microsoft a couple of weeks ago and looking at their trustworthy computing, because we know that cyberbullying is huge. We know that when people sometimes get bullied at school, that some people, the bystanders who can make a massive difference, take photos and video it, and it's waiting for that individual when they get home and switch on their Facebook, Twitter or MySpace, wherever it may be, and they can't escape it. And one thing about your Jeremy and Charlie did here with the stand-up project is really affecting that bystander, and that's what we want to do. We want to make them bystanders upstanders, and actually stand alongside someone when they need help most. And that can make a massive difference. You don't have to know them, you don't have to speak to them, but sometimes if you're seeing someone being treated unfairly, it is time to stand up for that person, and that's what I like to see. So with Microsoft, we're looking at that trustworthy computing, which looks at cyberbullying, and going into schools and maybe with video messages and etc. Of actually the sort of the pros and cons of the web, etc. That also starts at home as well. The parents have to have some sort of responsibility of that, where they are sort of virtually. We also partner with Wicked the Musical. And we're in the UK, we're partnered with them, and we're about to do a schools programme that actually goes into schools, and it's about bullying across the board, and it's very cross-curriculum. They have a fantastic young writers project as well that comes under that Stand Up Wicked programme, and it's based around Esmeralda getting bullied, but it's visual, it's video clips, and we give them the questions and we give them the sort of answers that they're going to have in return. And we don't charge a lot of money for that because we want to make it accessible, and we also don't want it to be externally delivered. This is something they can create and keep in the schools. What else is there? We have a stand-up magazine coming out on the 14th of November. That was the day that they got killed, and that is about role models in sport. And a bit of lifestyle in there as well, cooking, etc., fashion and stuff. Something I'm not really great at. What else is there? So with Nike, one of the things we've done with Nike, and one thing that I know, especially about sport, is actually sports, men and women across the world generally should be role models and let that side of their performance down. And we noticed that actually outside, especially when you come over to the States, sometimes very, very political over here compared to England, actually outside that space, actually we can use sport to drive a cultural change too. And we know that young people look up to their sporting heroes. And Nike, after the Kobe Bryant incident, are really looking at that and wanting to change the perception of sport and redefining the sportsman, redefining the champion. And it's about being a return to true sportsmanship off the pitch. And I know that. I know about being a world champion on the pitch, but if you're going off the pitch, you need to be graceful. You need to greet the fans. You need to keep the fans interested in the club. And for the youngsters, again, you know, the young supporters actually interested in you, but also interested in the game. And you need to be perceived doing the right thing off the pitch. And at the moment, we're seeing that that is not the case. And that Kobe Bryant, of what he said, he was a fantastic sportsman. We know that we had a momentary lapse, and he said the homophobic slurs is coming off, and let the game down, let himself down. And the Nike sales, I see how effect it had. You know, that Nike, the sales of the Kobe Bryant line actually took a vertical drop, and you know, Nike couldn't do anything about it. So Nike now are revisiting sportsmen with his contracts to actually say, look, you are personal, accountable to us now on how your code of conduct off the pitch, which is fantastic movement, and you know, they really need to hold them accountable. One of the biggest things we've done in the UK, I work for the Home Office, and we've gone to all the major sports clubs in England, and we've created a stand-up Home Office charter, which is about eradicating homophobia and transphobia from sport, which is huge. And but it's bullying in general, it's about inclusion. And as I said, making a sports pitch, track place a fair place for all. And we signed up all our soccer teams, Premiership, Championship, First, Second, Third Division, and all the lower leagues. That's 3,500 teams have signed up to that, which is fantastic. It's showing recognition, it's about showing about role models and leadership. It's exactly what we want to show in sport. But we also signed up the rugby, cricket, which is a funny old sport even for me, and then and tennis. So it is showing quite a lot of character and leading the way on that. And because we know sports teams have a duty of care in their community to promote fair play, and they have been. They've taken it into their community, each team, and saying, look, we don't discriminate. This is a fair place for another, a fair crack at the whip. It's exactly what we need. So I'd like to thank you guys for turning out. It's been a fantastic turnout. Hopefully I haven't bored you too much, and I see a couple of you on it. It's been a long day. Yeah, someone's still asleep. Eric, cap on. Is he leaning on his shoulder? You all right, mate? You good? I've got a coffee, you can have it too. So yeah, look, I think we're going to do some question and answers, and thank you very much. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you. Thanks, mate.
We're going to take a couple of minutes to answer some of the questions that you had for Ben. Again, as I said, some that were submitted earlier, some that were submitted just today. One of the things you talk about is that you walked away from your career in rugby for a cause. You did it for a reason. What was the reaction of your teammates?
You know, I've had nothing but support from my teammates, but not necessarily from my manager at the time, my agent. And my agent didn't want me to do it, and he thought I was crazy. He didn't get it what I wanted to do and what we wanted to create with the foundation. And ultimately, I got sued, but it's all sort of over and done with now, and we've really cracked on with it. But for my teammates, I've had nothing but support, and you know, they support all the time, maybe through appearances or helping me do something. And that's the biggest question. I think you know, in the UK, I think we're a lot more accepting, and maybe a little bit different over here. I know that where the problem lies within sport is it's a generational thing. You know, 20 years ago, we had a big problem with racism in sport. You know, from what they did in sport in the FA, which is our government body of soccer, basically said, look, we need to show racism the red card, and that's what the project was called. And what they did was any racist chants, racist slurs in games, they really didn't allow it. They used a 3-strike system. And that was like, 1, you get fined and the person gets banned for life. 2, it happens again, a bigger fine, person gets banned, or a group of people who have been racist. And thirdly, was that everyone gets banned for a game, and they play behind closed doors. So the clubs had to become responsible for their crowd, and actually it worked. And our racist slurs and racism in football is near enough non-existent. We do have isolated instances, but you know, there's been a lot of work done in that. And I think the current crop of you know, players don't care about sexual orientation. They don't care about colour of skin. They just want to play sport. It's just sometimes that the older generations, like managers and coaches maybe, and agents, have a different view on that, and they would rather somebody else go first and then let somebody else follow.
In the audience this afternoon, we have a lot of university students. We also have some high school students representing gay straight alliances across the island. We're really thrilled that they're here. But what would your advice be to them in terms of how to stay strong, how to deal with hearing slurs, being bullied? What would you say to these young people today?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to see you here. Thank you for coming. The biggest thing, right, and this is something we come across, is about people accepting themselves, and is the biggest sort of obstacle they come across. Once they accept themselves, that's the biggest challenge. Once they've done that, they can go and be proud of who they are, what they want to be. You know, I think that's one of the biggest messages is. I mean, one of the other things we look at is about actually with the organisation that we are now, and we look very, very broad with our message, and we know that education is needed, and we talk about racial slurs, and we talk about homophobic slurs, and the difference about racial slurs now is that people have been educated. That current and the next generation that were coming through 20 years ago, you know, really are now the teachers. Now understand what racist slurs mean, so if they hear it in a playground, which they shouldn't, then they can educate. So actually, do you know what that is? Let's not do that. And now with homophobic slurs, that's the teachers need educating to teach the youngsters to say, actually, do you know what that's what that homophobic slur means, and this is the consequences of it. So there's a lot to be done. The advice is to be yourself, be proud of yourself, and you've got one life, live it, and surround yourself with good people and people who understand you for who you are. I think is the biggest advice.
You talk often about being comfortable with yourself, being comfortable in your sexuality. How did that happen? Were you always comfortable with who you are? Was it part of being a rugby player?
We had a great upbringing, and our sort of like outlook on life is someone's nice to you, be nice back. It didn't matter what sexual orientation, what ethnic background is. You're not going to get on with everybody in life, but it doesn't give you the permission to be rude. And so it was nice to be I'm nice back. That's it. Full stop.
You talked a little while ago about moving from being a bystander to an upstander. What's your advice to people that are afraid that by standing up, that they themselves are going to become the target, or they themselves are going to be hurt?
For me, one of our early stages, when we piloted a schools program, we did this graph on the wall, and it was in a place called Manchester in England, and a rainy place, similar today. It was in a great great school. It was in basically the schools get scored on an Ofsted report in England by the government, and they had scored really low on anti-bullying and prevention of anti-bullying. So we piloted our schools program in that. And on this graph, one of these things was these circles with just little arrows on. And one was the person getting bullied, the bulliers with different coloured circles, and the bystanders were outside. And some were looking inwards, some looking outwards. And we asked the kids, you know, what they were, what did you think of it? And then we put the children in the place of the bullier, the person being bullied, sorry, and how isolated they felt and how horrid that felt. And in some cases, some of the people who put their hand up and said, look, I was bullied. How do you feel about being in that place? And actually, the response was huge, and we got some really good feedback in that. And it proves of how powerful a bystander can be to prevention. As I say, sometimes if someone's getting bullied, it could be physical, it could be verbal, that bystander could stop someone videoing, saying, hold on a minute, that's when that goes on the internet, that's going to be there forever. You know, this is the consequences of that. And, you know, just before I started the foundation, I remember doing an It Gets Better video about just after a string of suicides. And I thought, Christ almighty, I can't believe that, you know, kids are doing the unthinkable and taking their lives. You know, why isn't there that support there? Why are they turning to people? It made me so angry because of life, so young. And, you know, especially having kids myself. And I got really upset by it. I thought, Christ almighty, it's just life, you know. And to be a bystander, and sometimes you don't see how many times that person's actually got bullied. And you could have been bullied just that day, or it could be something that happens every day and you just haven't seen it. But it could just take one time that person saying, do you know what, this is not right. You guys filming is not right. You know, this is the consequences and that could be. You don't know whether that person's going to go and do the unthinkable, which is, don't even want to go down that road, but you know, that your actions could do that. And I understand that people sometimes, that you feel that you might get bullied or targeted yourself. But sometimes it's about doing the right thing.
You said that things are changing, things are getting better. Do you think that, from what you know of it, that in professional sports in the United States today that homophobia is decreasing?
There is a tipping point, and it comes with not necessarily just within the sport itself. I don't think there's a lot of issues with the actual individual sportsmen. Some do. I know in some areas of America where it could be quite religious, it can play a factor on that. Religion can play a factor on that. But generally, people don't really care. And that, even speaking to American sportsmen and speaking to a couple of owners of some big clubs here, that actually people don't really care. But I mean, it might be the area you're in that do that. But it's not something before with Nike about actually holding that certain individual accountable for their actions. They have to, it stifles them maybe speaking out. And in the UK we've had instances now that, you know, social media, Twitter, and you know, or maybe Facebook, or they've said something in the news, and they're getting banned, they're getting fined hundreds of thousands of pounds, which is right, you know, they are role models, people look up to them. So, you know, there's a whole sort of infrastructure behind now within big sports brands saying, you know, guys, you know, you're not doing our brand any good when you do that, or, you know, they've got maybe doing something with a game station or a drinks company or wherever it may be, and saying, oh, we don't want you perceived to be that way, you know, we're going to drop you now. You know, so everyone's now starting to be a little bit more politically correct. And so they should be, they're role models.
What would you tell our students about social media and the use of social media?
I like social media. I do, I've got to say. And
how many friends do you have now?
How many friends? I can't say they're all my friends. No, I don't. Just under 300,000. And most of the pictures on there are probably half naked. They probably are joking.
Except with
you know, it's a powerful tool, and you know, with our message to get to the roots of Nike, the roots of people, and tell them about what we're doing with our foundation is really powerful. But it does have a downside. You know, if you post something in jest, it's not a text message between 1 and 1. It can be, it can go out to 200, 300 if you've got that many followers or more, and you know, it can go, you know, viral. And you see, you have to be very, very careful. Again, if you're in sports or a role model, or you're in a sort of a high position of any sort, that you know, it can stifle or if not ruin your career and give you a bad name. And that's something you've got to be very, very careful of. And being in sport, again, you know, if we said anything bad on Twitter, forget playing for a month. You just turn up and do fitness. You'll get fined. You know, it's the club you're bringing in distribute. In fact, there's a guy called Brook or Sherman. He's just got fired from my old club, actually, Northampton Saints, for being racist. I mean, the clubs are taking it very seriously now. And so they should, you know, so they should. I mean, especially in some sports, about bums on seats, about getting repeat, you know, trade from your fans to come and watch you every week. So it is being about role models, and that's what really is the leading driver, the force behind us now.
What do you think it'll take for the leagues in the United States to get on board in the way they seem to have in Great Britain?
And that's what we're working with Nike. And I've just come back from a Nike summit in, I said I've just come back, when was it? Alison, when was it? Shout it out. Eh?
In June.
June, there we go, June. Thank you. Yeah, in June, it was a Nike summit over in Portland, Oregon. And it was about, say, redefining the champion, redefining the sportsman. And I tell you, there was a true example of it in our Olympics. And our Olympians really showed up our soccer players and our other sporting heroes who are perceived to be heroes in our country about actually the true meaning of true sportsmanship. How to win well, how to lose well, how to conduct yourself off the pitch, how to conduct an interview. And that's about redefining the champion. That's how a sportsman should be. And then you get into Paralympians, and what these guys go through to be a Paralympian is unbelievable. You know, these guys, you know, with loss of limbs, the trauma they've been through to go and do what they do is again another way of redefining the champion. And again, you know, that's how true sportsmen should be.
A number of students asked, when you start to feel discouraged, when you start to feel a little down, as everybody does, what do you do to pull yourself back up to again start fighting against these things?
I think like I've had many times in my career that I'm just thinking, you know, I'm just not playing well, or I'm not doing well, and you get down in the dumps, and you just try to really find your form, or you're not doing well at, you know, work or some way, shape or form. But you always have. It is always sometimes like that, you know, and it definitely has been in my career, and you just try and rediscover some past form. It is difficult. But when you do that, and actually something I always found was that actually when I'm like that, that's when I'm tense. I've got something on my mind. And sometimes it's either just, do you know what, I'm just going to relax, get all my thoughts out on paper, go and speak to someone, and I did. Sometimes I went to somebody to hypnotherapy, you know, to relax me and things like that, and it works. It's amazing sometimes you have something on your mind that actually, sometimes you don't know is there. Mm-hmm. But answering your previous question about how and what we're going to do and what our objectives of what Nike wants to do is to create a Live Strong for Equality, and that's what we are aiming to do through stand-up, is you know, stand up and redefine that, so redefine the champion and use StandUp Foundation as the next Live Strong for Equality. And you know, we're nearly there. It's a fantastic opportunity to go brand within Nike, you know, across the world is fantastic. And you know, it's slow, but you're dealing with a big organisation. You know, they want to be seen pushing that sort of snowball over the edge, and then let it, you know, gather momentum. And it is now. It's a real tipping point. Bullying is a serious issue, not just homophobia and transphobia, but bullying in general.
What makes you the proudest of what you've been able to accomplish?
With the foundation?
Well, foundation, sports?
I think getting my wife pregnant with twins is pretty impressive. Sorry, that's really low in the tone. I really do apologise.
You take much practice?
I'd actually, do you know what, I'm a big family man and had, you know, the apple of my eye, and you know, it's something, you know, apart from family, you know, I won a European Cup in 2000, which was great. I won a World Cup, well, you know, being part of the team to win a World Cup, and that was fantastic. But what I love about now is creating something that, you know, that you can see has a massive effect, and seeing that with the foundation growing, and globally too, which is fantastic. In the UK, in here, we get mail and people doing stuff all over the world, which is fantastic. We know it's needed, and it's great to be able to create a brand, create a foundation that helps people. And we have some fantastic support, you know, from celebrities, you know, I can't even go on. I was sitting at the mechanics the other week and I had Elton John call me, and it was like absolutely crazy stuff. I've got dinner tomorrow night with a certain Gaga mum, and it'll be good fun. But you know, it's just about the support and about collaboration, which is very important. And you know, the people that I mean, like Prince Harry's a massive supporter. You know, the photo with our T-shirt, etc. And you know, it's really got traction now. It's really turning into a gentle giant, which is exactly what we wanted. And I want it to outlive me, you know. I want my kids to be involved in it and stuff, you know. And they're my personal goals, they're my ambitions of it, you know. And you know, we really want to create a social change and thought process about bullying, homophobia, transphobia, etc.
As I said in the introduction, I mean, what you see is really what you get. I think that Ben is somebody that not only talks about change, but really lives change, and I think that that's something that we can all learn from. And on that note, I'd like to invite Stony Brook's rugby team up on stage to make a presentation to Ben.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, there we go. Actually, when I played in France, I played down in the south of France, and every morning, the way that you greet everyone is by a handshake, and I couldn't get my head around this. And I remember I joined this team called Breed sort of halfway through the season, and a completely cultural shock. And I walked into the change room, there's a coffee machine, like an espresso machine. I'm thinking, Christ, this is the change room, this is nothing I've been involved in before. You know, you come off the pitch at half time, you expect like a Powerade and you know, a slice of orange, and they're having a glass of wine and a coffee. You know, I'm thinking, Christ almighty. And like, if you get man of the match, I'm expecting a bottle of champagne, they give you a goat. How do you spray that over your mate? Yeah, that's lovely. Thank you very much, guys. A real honour. Do we have the picture, or where's the guy with the long lens? Your camera, that is. Sweetie, guys, we'll have a picture while we're up here. If you can get in. Ooh. You're that side. Hold that side. You hold that side. You don't know pressure.
Cheers, guys. Thanks.